What about my favorite Garyvee moment ever? The shoot your family in the face.
Dude, honestly, like back to like the way media works.
So earnestly.
Because I believe in it. You know, unfortunately, this is where TikTok can really fuck you.
Spent 18 months ballisting out how to fucking screw myself.
I'm like, you know, I even Dustin's here. I'm like, Dust, you know, we might have to rethink our TikTok strategy because the way you could, you know, me stitched out of context is dangerous.
Dude. It's gold, but then you should stitch their stitches and go right back at it. It's amazing.
100%.
Shoot them.
Look,
so
I think that it's very easy to take things out of context. I believe that if you think about, I believe that the world is not grateful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the world needs a lot more gratitude. And I think for me, when I think about things, when I'm upset about dumb shit, if I think about somebody had something horrible happen today, I actually, on a much more somber note, we had a very, very, very tragic event happen at Vayner last week. We lost an employee to a horrific situation. That's all I am willing to share. It sucks. Look, even just saying it takes the air out of this room. It's real life. Like real shit happens. Right. Like somebody just now lost a child at birth. Like right. Life happens. Right. And like when you do what I just did, it sucks the room out of a fun moment, not fun. But if you're having a really bad day around dumb shit, like, I didn't go viral on social media this month, or my coffee's cold, or like the subway sucks, or like my bus is late, or like like dumb shit that everybody complains about. If you go to that extreme place of like, yeah, but this could have happened, I actually do think it helps people with perspective. Sure. People aren't good at the easy way. Like, I'm giving them the extreme, like, think about like something tragic. Right. And I understand that people are like, what the fuck is the matter with you? But I'll tell you what's the matter with me. When I tell you to be grateful for what you have, everyone's like, yeah, on to the next thing. Like, people don't do well with, they don't, like, they're like, people take everything for granted, everything. 850 million people on Earth don't have access to clean water. We have fucking seven bottles of body armor shit. Shout out body armor. We have 700 fucking bottles of body armor in here, like on the shelf, half drank, 850 million people on Earth don't have access to clean water. The fuck are you complaining about? And I believe in that shit. And that's what makes me happy. That's what doesn't allow me to burn out. It's real for me. And like, you know, I'll let people meme me, mock me, make fun of me in perpetuity. I'm gonna pump this shit until my last breath. I have two agendas. Get people to figure out how fucking lucky we are and win a fucking Super Bowl. And win a goddamn Super Bowl. And win a goddamn fucking Super Bowl. If I didn't love what I do all 19 hours a day, then I wouldn't be talking shit about buying the jets. I got lucky that the thing that I love most is building big businesses. Right. Like if I loved, you know, being an architect more than anything in life, and that's what I gravitated to, Legos and drawing when I was 6, 7, 9, 12, 13, instead of selling lemonade and selling flowers and selling baseball cards, then I would just be talking about becoming the greatest, you know, architect of all time. And that wouldn't have made me trillions, and that would have made me successful and rich, and I get it. But like, or very honestly, like if I was wired, like, by the way, and this is why you like me so much, if I didn't have the DNA of a salesman and an entrepreneur, I would be a guidance counselor. Right. Like I live for, do you know how much money I leave on the table by giving you this, by doing what I'm doing right now? I'm leaving a lot of, and by the way, it's not because I'm such a great guy, it's because hearing you say that in the beginning of this call is a greater high for me than any deal I've ever closed in business. And that's not even close, by the way. Having another human being tell you that you're having a positive impact on their life, I promise you this. You're not coming to my funeral because I made $1.7 trillion in my career. You're coming to my funeral because I might have made you $1,700 more and tweaked you in a place where you had 49 more years of happiness. Right. Dude, honestly, this is very simple to answer your question, so I went on a little bit of rant. What do you like when you're not working? Build a business around that. Like what do you like? Yeah, I mean, like, I gotta tell you right now, this whole Vayner sports thing, I'm getting scared. I might shut it all down. I'm in love with it. Having these football players sit at VaynerMedia, John Toth yesterday, offensive lineman center for Kentucky, he's gonna be on the Packers in 6 months. It's the weirdest thing. Alvin Kamara is gonna rush for 137 yards on a Sunday, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's my dude. Like, it's crazy, and I love it. And watching AJ's happiness, he's not gonna make anywhere close to as much money as he did at VaynerMedia, but watching the happiness in his heart, like, what do you like? Surfing? What do you like? Like t-shirts? What do you like? Hip hop? Like, what do you like?
A thing that I like, to be honest, is for a while it's like an extreme sport thing, but now what it is building people. Like, that's what I like. I like seeing other people.
So I think you know this. I'm very scared of the life coach business because I think people are ripping people off. So as long as you feel good about it, like, here's an idea. What about starting a club? Like, what about like, dude, there's so much shit you can do. Let me throw you rogue ass shit. Why don't you get a job at night at a restaurant where you tell the owner that you want to work as a bartender because you want to start a club in his restaurant or her restaurant every Wednesday night for aspiring entrepreneurs or for people that want to live better lives. So the exchange is, whom way overqualified for this job, I'm going to work here 3 nights a week, and I'm gonna meet people that come here, and I'm gonna start a club in your restaurant. And then what you're gonna do is, once you test out what a club and a group together at a restaurant looks like, you may go then get investors or buy your own or save money or sell everything on eBay and get your own. Like, do shit is the answer. Do you understand?
Right, totally. And on that, the craziest shit about that, what you just said, is that today at 11:30, I actually orchestrated 3 weeks ago starting a club at my business, the company that I work at, and the first day of the club starts today. We're going into leadership, and I'm going to do my best, help and learn from other people at the company who want to be bigger, who want to be better, who want to do more, not just to work.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Off of that, what just happened, when do you think the world's going to realize that I'm actually a genie from a different planet? Like, that stuff freaks me out when stuff like, so cool. Anyway, listen my man, keep focusing on this. I like the vibe of your voice. That's one of the reasons I'm very big on tone and energy. That's why the call-in show is gonna be better, because when I read it, I don't have the tone. I can tell the goodness coming out of your mouth. I can feel it. Let me tell you this. It sounds like you're fairly young. How old are you, 29?
26.
Good. Patience, brother. Keep doing good, keep bringing people value, and don't think about what's in it for you. What's in it for you will happen when you are purely pushing to bring people value. Shit just happens.
I feel like you stay pretty positive, even though, like, I know you know that stuff, right? Like,
I stay realistic. Listen, I might be positive publicly. If you were hanging out in my apartment when the Jets play, I'm a fucking disaster.
That's a good question for you. At what point, I think I know the answer already, but like, you're a businessman, entrepreneur and all that, but now you're also just kind of like a influencer star. You know what I mean? It's almost like
more people know who I am.
Right, but you know, I'm saying like when Jim Cramer became like Jim Cramer, the TV guy, and no longer the financial analyst. Like, where are you just like, I'm trying to put out content versus I'm trying to like, make money business? That's
a really interesting question. I don't even think in those terms.
Right.
I am just navigating.
It all kind of like works.
I kind of have this big framework of like my ambitions and my selfless agenda. Meaning, I want to buy the New York Jets. I'm a businessman. I'm trying to do shit. Like, I'm deep Web3 because I think it's the future. Like, I'm putting in the time because that's an opportunity. I run a humongous company with 1,800 employees. I'm trying to build an empire. Comma, I have a personality trait that is unusual for an empire building assassin. Which is, I'm not tearing down everybody around me. I'm not a sharp elbows. I'm a nice guys actually finish first dude.
Right.
And at some point I realized enough people were watching me that I'm like, fuck it. Let me like really teach people that this is possible. That you can be very successful and happy and you don't have to be a dick face. Right. and so what ended up happening was a lot of things happened. Trash talk, my garage sale videos. What is that? That is hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people emailing me over a period of time saying, Gary, you keep talking about investing in startups, but I don't have $25,000. In fact, I'm $6,000 in debt and I have $93 in my bank account. What do I do? And you know, you're getting this constantly, and at some point you're sitting on a plane and saying, fuck, I gotta do something. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna show them what I did when I had $93. I garage saled and sold stuff on eBay.
We're now 23 people, and we're trying to really follow your model. 63 pieces of content a day, that free deck that you have or whatever.
All of the numbers I throw out are completely arbitrary. The number, no, I mean it. I mean it. You're talking about the 86 pieces of content, you know,
86.
Gary, yeah.
73?
4 TikToks a day, all of it's arbitrary. The number is as much as humanly fucking possible. There are more at-bats for attention and opportunity. You know what's better than 100 push-ups? 200. You like that one, huh? But I love, you know who I love the most? Fitness people. Fitness entrepreneurs are my favorite. Let me tell you why. They're so good at their craft. Like, right? Like, but then with the business, they don't do the thing they do in fitness. They and fitness entrepreneurs shit on people because people want shortcuts in fitness. They want fucking implants, they want fucking apple cider vinegar pills, they want all sorts of bullshit when the answer is put the work in the gym and eat properly. Like, follow the model. But then as entrepreneurs, you see these fucking all beefed up, did everything fucking perfect. I'm talking about the ones that don't cheat. I'm talking about doing it right. And then they come to business and they're like, what's the shortcut? And I'm like, you know that there's no shortcut in this shit. The fuck are you looking for shortcut in this shit? Right? They fascinate me because they have such a big chapter of their life they know. Everyone's like, I spent 38 years looking for the shortcut. I'm like, what? They're like, it's fucking go in the gym and fucking eat properly, motherfucker.
Amen.
So back to content, I'm like, I don't know. Like, some of you make really good TikToks, but you don't do this. Like, you have to be contextual to the platform. You have to know who the audience is, and slang matters, right? You have to understand, you have to put in the reps, the content output. Like, you know, everybody tries to use social as distribution. They make one piece of content and post it everywhere. That completely doesn't work. You've got to contextualize and post creative for the platform. I've given 3 talks today. Flew in, that's why I was able to make it work with Beacon. I'm super pumped about surrounding this, and I surrounded it. All 3 are different. I have to read the room. The philosophical shit's the same, but it's got to be different, right? It's like quiz. It's all food, but it's different. And you have to know your audience. I don't understand how people come with fucking YouTube DNA into TikTok and think it's gonna work. The mindset's different. The same person, the same human. I'm not talking about age and gender and race and religion. The same human being is a different consumer on TikTok than they are on Instagram. Your mindset's different. One's passive entertainment. On LinkedIn, it might be information. Like, it's all context. Here's my point about hard work. It's a great opportunity to it's a great way to be in this spot and as we move to the next office. Like, hard work really matters, but let's talk about it both ways. Yes, in episode 215 or whenever I said it, that it doesn't, if you put in 18 hours a day and you don't have talent, you will not get results. If you put in 9 hours a day and you are loaded with talent in whatever you're doing, you will get results. So it's this cross-section of work ethic and talent. They both matter. People get so mad when I talk about talent. We had that whole Cruella episode where it was like that whole debate, and in the comments, a bunch of you losers, losers, were like, no, you can make it happen if you work hard enough. That is just not true. Stand up, everybody in the comment section, if you worked very hard for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years at something and you didn't get the greatest results of all time and have a white picket fence and hit the Hall of Fame. It happens every day. But talent is not something that you, watching this right now, can go home and say, I'm gonna muster up more talent in art, in business, in sports. You can't do that. But work ethic, you can. And so I push work ethic because I believe it's a variable and I believe it's far more controllable. I do believe that you can cut out leisure, change your mindset, and put in the work. I do not believe that you automatically can become unbelievably millionaire status, world class at what you do. Do I think you can become a better editor if you do it a bunch? I sure do. Do I think you can be better at tennis if you play a lot? Yes, I do. Do I think that means that you could be on the tour? No, I do not. I believe that happiness, and everybody has their own work-life balance. This is a conversation of one. I have no interest in imposing my way of like working a lot because I love it. But I also have no interest in other people that are telling people like don't, when they may have different goals and ambitions. And so, I think we need to call it demonizing hard work, because I think when you go into workaholics or when you go into hustle, I think we've created terms that have become demonized, and that's fine. That's just the evolution of conversation. But in wrapping up this audio that's gonna start this blog post, I just want everybody who reads this to say, look, I do not think I'm right. I do not have that audacity. I share what works for me. It may or may not work for others. I feel like if you go read Crush It in 2008-9, I've been very consistent, which is take advantage of this ridiculous opportunity, but make yourself happy. I've talked about selling Smurf stuff for $80,000 a year. Like, it's not about being a trillionaire and all this, So I think entitlement is what led to a lot of people burning out, because they weren't in a position where they were living in merit, and now that they're startup founders, they're burning out because they're not good at it. This is not about how many hours they put in. They're not good at it. And so, nonetheless, it's a very touchy subject that I'm passionate about. But I do think work ethic matters. I think it's very hard to succeed without putting in the time against a competitive set of other people that are willing to put in the time. But I do think happiness trumps everything, and I think people need to be self-aware of what makes them tick, not how I did it or how somebody in Denmark's telling them to have to do it. The last 7 years of my life have been dedicated on trying to build people's self-esteem. I sound crazy. Not all that, I mean, I've gotten a little bit better looking, but I'm not winning on that. High school ended. Everybody has zits too. People are I'd laugh when it was like, you really suck at this. I'm like, you suck at shit too. As if not everybody sucks at shit. Everybody in here sucks shit at so much shit, it's crazy. Right? Fuck. And but you want I'll give you a real answer to what I actually think works. This is a wild answer to this, in my opinion, but I've really started to zero in. I'm gonna help you jump over the hurdle of the fear of how I look, how I sound. Deploy compassion to those who shit on you. I think the reason I'm winning is when somebody says you're an idiot, you're a scam, you're full of shit, you suck, you're ugly, fuck you. My brain immediately goes to man, for somebody to take time out of their day to come to my profile to try to tear me down because they're hurting so much inside, I only have love for them. I'm aware that we're in a societal place right now where the way we respond to people's hate is with hate back to them, but I just don't have that gear. When I get shit on, I deploy love through the form of compassion. If you're able to do that, you won't hear them. But that's why I've been pounding on humility. The reason I work is because I've got this going on. For when I get 1,000 comments, 860 of them are a goat emoji. The other 140 are, you're a scam artist. When you can't hear either, you can move. When you only hear the goat stuff, you become vulnerable to the scam stuff. Too many people want that affirmation, and that's why people become unhappy. If your values are based on people giving you accolades, then you become susceptible to the teardown. I'm just attached to both. Can't hear you, I'm on the field. The fuck am I gonna worry about you cheering or booing? I'm on the fucking field, you're eating popcorn. I was born in the Soviet Union. I got very fortunate to come to this great country when I was 3 years old, and life was super hard. I lived with 9 family members in a studio apartment the size of this stage in Queens. We grew up lower middle class the majority of my early childhood, but it was a happy household. My mom, as you mentioned quickly, is the hero of my life, and she instilled incredibly massive foundations for me around kindness and empathy and compassion and all the things. I mean, literally VeeFriends, the IP that I'm building right now on the back of NFTs, which will have the biggest booth at this convention in 10 years, is really, is really, really, really the seed of how my mother saw the world. My mom lost her mom at 5, grew up in the Soviet Union, like real tough life, and really showed me all the true answers to the world. And so I grew up very, very much not entitled. My mom was the sweetest as pie, but my mom is super cheap and we were poor. So everything I ever wanted, she looked me in the face and said, go get it. So lemonade stands, washing cars, shoveling snow. You know, I'm built on hard work. I think entitlement is a disease. I think a lot of people have it today. And I'm very grateful I don't. And I think we're all byproducts of our childhood. I think there's things that I've had to work on just like anybody else. I think as grown-ups, we can do that. You can't just say, oh, my parents fucked me up. You know, you've got to work at it. But I am as grateful as one can be on earth. I've been writing a book in my head. I've written a lot of books, but the one that I've been holding nearest and dearest is a book that I'm gonna call Perfectly Parented. And I'm gonna talk about how they did it, what they did, and I hope it creates different conversations, because I think parenting is one of the most important conversations in the world. The thing that inspires me daily and why I put myself so out there and built the following that I built, and definitely why I'm building VeeFriends, is we have the capacity to change. Yeah. Humans inspire me so much. You know, we're sitting here as the byproduct of some good situations, but listen, you and I had a bunch of stuff. I didn't know my dad at all. He worked every day of his life until I was 14. Like, you know, like everyone's got stuff, but taking on the challenge of leaning into optimism and figuring out whether it's meditation, exercise, counseling, education, the consumption of positive content versus negative content, or whatever your path is, I think it's really inspiring that we have the capacity to evolve as well. And that's what I spend my life on, which is I have a level of guilt and gratitude of thinking I had a great situation, and I want to and continue to push the conversation that if one doesn't, you have so much capacity to change your outcome, and I'm inspired by that.
Entitlement's a very important word for all of us because it is foundational in the starting point to all the other things we've been talking about over the last 2 days. Entitlement is also going to be very difficult for all of us to talk about in this room because it means we have to look at ourselves, not look at the people that we're imposing it on. Over the last 3 years, I have received hundreds of thousands of messages from 15 to 25-year-olds telling me variations of stories of how much they love and appreciate their parents deeply, but deep down, they resent them and or hate them so much because while they continue to take their unlimited Uber from their parents, while they continue to take a brand new BMW on their 17th birthday, while they continue to be thrilled that their parents bought them their first apartment in New York City, or much smaller things like a first-class plane ticket or something of that degree, they inherently deeply understand that they are a zoo animal and are completely unprepared to actually live in the world. This is very difficult because so many, like myself, come from places where you start with nothing. Half this audience came from the fucking dirt. The others had parents or grandparents that did. This is deep within us that once you tasted garbage, you have no interest in letting your children taste it. This is not judgment. You're looking at a man who's run 2 companies now, and the #1 vulnerability I've had running these 2 companies successfully is I personally created too much entitlement with my organizations because I don't like conflict. I struggle with radical candor. I'm a tough guy on fucking Instagram, but in real life, I just want to take all the pressure and do it myself and put everybody in a happy place because happiness deploys better success until it overcorrects. We have a whole culture that is disproportionately judging the youth, literally judging the youth that they fucking parented. My friends, For us to look at this and understand what's actually happening, we have to understand that so many in today's society, and long before social let us flex on each other, we did it by the things we wore, by the things we drove, by the stories we told at the PTA. Most people continue to parent their children based on what they think other people think of them, not by listening to their actual children. This is a very important conversation. We cannot get to the path of all the other talks that we've been listening to without eliminating entitlement. It is very difficult to be empathetic or grateful without eliminating entitlement. We must put accountability on a pedestal. We must destroy 8th place trophies. That doesn't mean that we don't admire effort, but results fucking matter in life. My mother gave me so much fucking self-esteem that it makes some people not like me. However, she equaled that with uncomfortable amounts of accountability. When I went 0 for 4 in a baseball game and struck out 4 times, it wasn't the sun's fault. It wasn't my coach's fault. She looked me in the face and said, "You fucking sucked." It didn't taste great. It must have not been fun for her to deliver, but my deep, deep happiness is predicated on her sucking out every piece of entitlement out of my body, my deep capacity to be empathetic and grateful, which transforms in what most people see is somebody who markets. But in the way I navigate my life and the way that I market to the end consumer, my unbelievable opportunity to speak in front of this crowd today is predicated on listening. I talk, you listen to my podcast, I interrupt every single person that is on my show because I've already heard what they said and I just want to move it along, and we don't fucking edit. It seems mean, it seems audacious, it's deeply based on listening. We have to start the process of listening to the youth. They're telling us the answers. You just care what your neighbor thinks about your kid. You just care about what your mother thinks about your kid. You just care about what your sister thinks about your kid. You need to start listening to your kid. When this little hubbub that popped up about USC and other colleges, this was no surprise to me. There was no shock behind this. We are a mass society predicated on overreacting to other people's judgment. We are awfully good at judging. We are awfully good at judging. We have to start the conversation around entitlement.
I've happily just quit my 10th job. I'm gonna keep going after it till I figure it out. But man, you know what Slavic parents are like, man. How do you balance both but go after it all at the same time?
By recognizing how sweet it is when you succeed on your own terms, how proud they'll be about you. Too many kids struggle with conflict with parents in the short term without realizing that parents always fall into line after you're successful. And by also having the humility that if you're wrong, to admit that you're wrong 20 years from now and adjust. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Listen, everybody at some level, whether they have good parents or bad parents, want to make their parents proud. It's a fucking inherent thing of coming out of somebody's body, right? It is. When I say don't listen to anybody and go quiet, I mean everybody, especially parents, spouses, siblings, especially. But here's the key. When you just said, Garyvee, I think you're the motherfucking man, where people get caught is they get too high on compliments and too low on insults. Nothing makes me happier than when I read my comments where one post is, Garyvee, you're just hot air, fuck you, right? And the next one's like, Gary, you're fucking Jesus, you walk on water. And I look at those two, and I'm like, this is why I'm gonna win. I can't hear either of them. Where so many of you are fucking up is you hear the cheering, but you're crippled by the booing. You're addicted to the cheering, but you don't wanna hear the booing. I respect both equally, which means I can't hear either. Either you're gonna be right, or they're gonna be right. I feel the way you delivered your sentence that you're gonna be right. I think you need to limit how much you listen to them. Number one, accountability. This is gonna set you free, whether it's true or not in every situation. if you always know that it's always your fault, it sounds crazy, but that will keep you crazy happy. The amount of athletes I've met that blame coaches, even at the professional level, blows my mind. There are dudes in this room who always are talking shit, blaming coach. Right now, I see some of these good looking faces. I know behind that face, I'm like, that kid right there. You know, like it's real. Do not blame anybody but yourself. It will make you happy. It's a huge mindset. Number 2, I am blown away by people's entitlement. Just because your mom and dad had sex at the right exact second to give you athletic ability doesn't mean nobody owes you shit. So accountability, eliminating, first accountability, second, eliminating entitlement. Nothing is owed to any of y'all. It is what it is. It's like sports. It's a game. So just because somebody gave you a scholarship or gave you an at-bat, it's you. You're not owed anything. Coach, if you've got real accountability, like this is on me, and you don't think anybody else owes you shit, the last one is in a different school, but all together, those 3 change people's lives. The third one is simple, which is be nice. This is a crazy one, especially at this age. If you realized how life actually plays out, and you will one day when you're 60, 70, 80, the number 1 hack, the smartest move, be kind, which is why, Coach, earlier I said be nice to yourself, because nobody's nice to anybody else if they don't like themselves. The only people in here that are mean, trying to tear down others, because they're hurting. When people are tearing down other people, that just exposes that they're hurt. But if you're lucky enough to feeling good, give roses to people, because people are gonna be the fuel that gets you there. I actually think, and I've been really paying it, I love this question, Bubba. I think it comes down to who loves it the most. Like actually likes it. There's definitely kids that I'm looking at right now that realize logically, like this is how I'm gonna get paid. But they don't like live for it. You don't live for ball. And I think the all pro versus the Hall of Famer, the Hall of Famer's addicted. They cry when they retire. They're trying to play to the last day, right? Even if, look at the greats. They can't even retire. Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. Even though I hate Tom Brady and Michael Jordan so much, they are the fucking greats. These fuckers don't know how to retire. They unretire, they retire because they fucking love it too much. So the separation is the fucking passion for it. You can't breathe without it. And by the way, the kids in here, like when everyone else is like, you know, like you love it too much or like have some other hobbies, like don't let somebody else tell you what you fucking love. Look at this shit. You won't be able to see it. This is my fucking report card from high school. I failed every fucking class. Right? And everyone's like, no, you need a fucking diploma to fall back on. We know you're telling your whole high school, Gary, that you're gonna be the best businessman. Don't let anybody tell you what your passion is, right? Now, sports is hard. The chances and the likelihood of this room being there is gonna be hard, real hard. But just falling in love with something, you can take that energy and put it to something else. Don't let people tell you what you love or how hard you go. Squeeze the shit out of this opportunity. Life is crazy because it's just about this. There really is nothing else. Life is how you see it. Some of you in this room are optimistic and some of you are pessimistic. That's just real talk. It's just the chemicals in your body. Some of you are approached with any situation and you're like, this is gonna be great. And others in this room see a situation and they're thinking about why this isn't gonna work out. And for me, what I've been spending my whole life on, starting with my sister who's 3.5 years younger, that I tried to reshape and see more positivity in every outcome, to where I am today, where I get 10,000 DMs a day on TikTok and Instagram about this talk, even though they think they're talking about something else. It's the same shit, which is, if I can get to you at this point and you actually realize while you watch this video right now, me talking with you, that you're actually in charge, like on some real shit, you're actually in charge of deciding if you want to see the opportunity or if you want to see what's not going to be the opportunity. The second you make that switch, it's game over. And I'll give you the comp. For some of you, this is gonna make sense. Everybody in this room is so talented that at some point, now that you're at this level, this age, some of you are starting to realize, oh wait, if I really work, right? Because you've been so talented, you are so talented that some of you, and I see Coach shaking his head, like, you know, this is a big one. And it's the physical version, and then I want to get you into the mental version. The physical version is some of you in the last 6 to 24 months were like, wait a minute, if I actually go a little harder, if I actually push myself, if I actually work, well, I'm starting to get better than dude that was better than me a month ago. Like, because talent is just half of the equation. There's a bunch of people in this room that are way more talented than the dude that's sitting to the left and right of them, and that's gonna be the way it is forever. And the dude to the left and right of them are gonna be in the league, and you're not. And forget about injuries and other shit, because that's some other shit. I'm talking this is the single variable of what I just said. And so for me, anytime I get a quick burst with the youngsters that I'm gonna look up to in a couple years, because let there be no confusion, in 2 minutes, life goes fast. Frog, we're getting old. In 2 minutes, these kids are gonna be shining on Saturdays and Sundays, and we're gonna be cheering for them. I just really want you to win. You know, one thing that I was really affected about when I was a kid, roughly around your ages, I would start, I don't know why, like almost like an old wisdom thing. I would just chop it up with old people. Like when I was like 9, 12, 14, 17, I would just, at the playground, I would just roll up on grandparents and chop up with them. And the one thing that scared me was regret. People would always just have regret. Like, I wish I married this girl, or I wish I got that job. And because I love sports so much, it would really catch my attention when people were like, man, I wish I kept pursuing my baseball career. I think I could have made it. What I'm petrified on some real talk with all of you right now is you can't be in this room right now unless you're bananas talented. Which actually means one of two extremes. You're either gonna go there and you're gonna live that life and it's gonna be remarkable on that level, or you're gonna live with regret at 25, 29, 37, 42, 57, and the worst thing in the world, besides not having life, death, all that terrible shit, is really regret. And I'm just trying to pump fire into this screen for 15 minutes to get one of you, if I can get one of you to hear what the fuck I'm actually saying and decide to switch it up and this is the fucking moment where you decided not to go down the path of ending up with regret, but actually doing it. Whether you win in sports or not, it's more about the mindset of just happiness, like being good. That's what I'm here for. Please choose. Like the same way you work on watching film and going into the weight room and like your craft, running sharper routes or working on swim moves or whatever fuck position you got. Like the same way you work on that, you need to work on being like, man, I'm not gonna let bullshit, insecurity, worrying about what other people think, negativity, just tune that shit out. Grab both of your index fingers and put them directly in your ears and live like that for the rest of the time on your earth. Because I'll tell you why, here's how it plays out. If you do this, because that's how I play, and when I see everybody else who's winning, AKA happy, comma, successful, they got fucking index fingers in their ears. Index. And let me tell you why that matters. I use a sports analogy everywhere else. This is literal for y'all. When you do this, you don't hear them booing. You're not worried about putting up an Instagram video and people saying you're too slow or that's whack or who gives it. You can't hear them. That's powerful because everyone gets wrecked on some hate and trolling. That's not even the biggest thing I'm trying to get you to protect yourself from. When you do this is the big one, boys. You can't hear them cheering. Some of y'all are gonna lose on the mission that you have for yourself right now because you're gonna get high on your own supply. You're gonna believe what they say about you. You're gonna believe those 5 stars. You're gonna believe you're number 7, and it's gonna soften you, and you're gonna lose. You're gonna get so hyped on all the gassing that you're gonna fuck it up. And so what I'm trying to do right here is get you into this place. This place. Fucking love your friends, family, be a good person, do the right shit, put in the work, love yourself first. You're not gonna love anybody else if you don't love yourself first. If you're sitting right now and you're insecure and you don't love yourself, because there's a lot of people like that, so there's definitely people in this room. I promise you somebody else put that poison in your head. Parent, neighbor, older sibling, somebody else put that poison in your head. Love yourself first, Then you can love everybody else, put in the mental work, you've got the physical talents. That's a wrap. God gave you that, that's a wrap. That you've got that. That is not even an interesting conversation. You've got that. Everybody's gonna lose on this. Everybody loses on this. And you got a real shot not to, because you got people around you. This is why I fuck with this program. This is why I'm here, that really care. And I pray that one person heard me right now that was starting the process of letting this go down the wrong path. It's about loving yourself, but not feeling yourself. Love yourself, but don't think you're special. I think I'm the best. I actually think I'm currently in the process of becoming the greatest entrepreneur of all time. Meanwhile, I don't think I mean shit. If I die tomorrow, I'll be trending on social media for 24 hours, a little love, your favorite clip, your this. You guys be like, damn, we just talked to him yesterday. You know, like that, and then that'll be it. And that'll be it. So believe in your shit, but don't gas yourself up to take you off course. Well, I think first of all, people want everybody else to be kind and empathetic. So my favorite part of this book is accountability. You know, everyone has become incredibly good at judging others. The world is addicted to pointing fingers. I have never seen the world louder about telling everybody else what they're bad at. So I think the way to deploy successful kindness and empathy is to actually start with yourself. I also want to remind everybody that deploying kindness when the other person is kind to you is very easy. I challenge the world to start having a conversation with itself of, does it have the ability to be kind and empathetic in the face of negativity? My leaders are incredibly kind to my employees when everything's going well. I don't need peacetime generals. I need leaders when things are bad and hectic to be able to be the bigger woman and bigger man in that situation to create a framework of kindness and empathy. So, you know, for me, it's about the accountability of being able to be that person. Right now, we are in a world where everyone is so quick to get triggered by bad behavior that they fight fire with fire, which is why so little is being accomplished in society, in politics, and in the workforce. And so for me, I think that we are not spending enough time with our thumbs, and we need to stop being addicted to our fingers. The concept of teaching someone to be more self-aware is something I've been thinking about for a long time. You know, I think the thing that drives so many of us crazy in the world is interacting with those that struggle with self-awareness. I think one of the hardest things for people to deal with is hypocrisy. We struggle with it, and I struggle with it. The exercise in the book that I decided to do was creating frameworks for the people that know you the best to create a safe space for them to be able to tell you the truth. I think one of the reasons people struggle with self-awareness is because they have enablers around them that are allowing them to get away with bad behavior. And so I'm spending a lot of time trying to think about how one puts the people that knows them the best in a safe place to actually give them the critical feedback that could be the jarrer of a journey towards self-awareness. It's a very tough challenge. I don't know if I have the answer. What I can tell you is, no question, the business leaders that I admire, the human beings that I admire, are the ones who are off the charts in self-awareness. I'm incredibly grateful for the luck of the DNA game that I think gave me a lot of it. I would argue that the only reason I have any level of popularity is because of self-awareness, because of the kind of communicator I am and my personality. I would be completely not palpable if I didn't have high levels of self-awareness, because I have some really funny attributes as a communicator. And so it's a conversation we need more of. I do think that self-awareness has a very interesting relationship with accountability. I think that a lot of people actually know what their shortcomings are, but they try to navigate the world in a way where they are hoping that people don't notice. And it's something I'm thinking a lot about. My optimism comes from gratitude. when you are grateful for what you have versus envious for what you don't have, optimism comes second nature. Life is always going to be challenging, but perspective is something we all need a lot more of. We sit here today in this gorgeous room while 850 million, almost 10% of the world, does not have access to clean water. 850 million people in this world do not have access to clean water. I have not been able to put the pieces together to be upset about a business deal going awry in a world where 850 million other people don't have access to clean water. I am dumbfounded by people's inability to be grateful for what they have. For me, optimism is second nature because I'm completely based in fundamental gratitude. And I wish more people were too. And that's why I like talking about gratitude. It is very clear to me, 25 years into my career, that kindness and empathy and patience and humility are actually the foundations. And I think the things that all of us think about as soft skills and emotional intelligence are actually the hard skills. That it is far easier for me to find people who are good at the task or have good math skills than it is to find people who are capable of being the bigger woman or bigger man in the face of pressure or adversity. And so for 20 years or so, this has been in my subconscious. COVID, like for many of us, gave me a time to reflect, and I immediately went into writing the book on a couple of reasons. One, I'm incredibly aware that there's a lot of young people paying attention to my moves, are fans of what I do, and I thought it would be a disservice if I wasn't incredibly aggressive in my communication on the things that I see as a winning formula. It becomes double important when I realize that most people don't talk about kindness as the single alpha skill in building a successful empire. And I thought it was a unique take. It's also very nuanced. The reason the subtitle is Ingredients is when I was going through my process, I realized, oh, I never just deploy empathy. I never just deploy patience. In every situation, it's actually 3 or 4 different traits, often traits that are in a conflict with each other. It's very interesting to be tenacious and ambitious while being patient. And so I liked the concept of ingredients because it's like cooking a meal. I think we all believe that sweet and sour chicken is something that is delicious, but sweet and sour can see a conflict. So I felt that I was the right person at the right time. And what has transpired in the last 18 months, because I wrote the book very quickly in the beginning of COVID, obviously it takes time for it to come out and things of that nature. Many of us are thinking about things in the business world around the concept of the Great Resignation and the concept of people even applying into businesses in the first place in a world of options. I think the importance of being a leader that understands these traits has even compounded in the last 18 months since I even wrote it, which feels serendipitous and exciting for me. And I really hope that people also, if they read it, realize this is not a book that is meant to over-coddle the millennials or Gen Z. This is truly believing that this is the alpha infrastructure to building significantly large, successful businesses. Look, I believe that you can have short-term success in many ways, and I believe that the world has been very clear to us over the last centuries that fear and negativity are sometimes a fuel for short-term success. You know, my argument is that it's not as powerful as brightness and love, that hate is a powerful trait. But I just believe it never beats love in the end. And I believe that to be true in business. Of course, there have been people who've been successful who are not kind leaders. That doesn't mean that it should be mimicked. And I would also ask, if you have the luxury of interacting with people in their 80s and 90s, and especially those who've had major financial success by being mean and negative, I think you'll find that many 80 and 90-year-olds who've built their empire with darkness have incredible levels of regret and actually lived quite unhappy lives. And so my question simply to business people is the money worth the unhappiness? The reason so many people lose in the real estate market overall, they will in NFTs, they do in collectibles and many other things, is they want money fast and they do short-term behavior and they don't thoughtfully think long-term. Right? They overextend themselves, game over. That's how I think about emotional intelligence. If you play in a way where every relationship appreciates you, and do you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about strength? I'm actually not, I love this subject because I want to get deeper into it. Of course it's easy to be nice to someone who's nice to you. I'm talking about the other shit. I'm not, like everyone's like, yeah, I'm nice. I'm like, but what about last Thursday when you wanted to punch Patty in the face? Well, she was a bitch. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Not when shit's easy, when shit's hard. Everybody in this room has likely had someone get cute and not pay you for some shit. What do you do then? How do you have the strength emotionally to be the bigger person? Do you waste your energy on envy and jealousy or talking shit about that person? Or are you on the offense and just moving on? This is money talk. This isn't grandma's nice talk. This is money talk. And that's the nuance that I'm trying to bring to the forefront of the conversation. I am going to make uncomfortable levels of money on the foundation of kindness. When I dissect what's going on with me and how it's happening, it is grounded in patience. It is grounded in empathy. It is grounded in compassion. It is grounded in that stuff. People are like, Gary, this is all wrong. I'm nice and people walk all over me. I'm like, let's break it down, Becky. Like, tell me how you're nice. And let me tell you about the conversations when I broke down the people that tell me they get walked all over and that's why you can't be nice. Let me make it real simple for everybody. Here's what's actually happening. It's one of two things. One, they're actually trying to manipulate people. This whole conversation of I get walked all over, no. You tried to give somebody some shit that they didn't even want because you wanted something from them. Garyvee, see you're coming to Dallas. Let me give you a ride to the hotel to save you some money on the car. Translation, hey dude, I want to pitch you shit for 35 minutes while I get you to the hotel. That happens every day. People out here trying to act kind, they're using it as manipulation. Like, don't give me shit I don't want. And then ask immediately after. That's not kind, that's manipulation. That's number one. Or number two, you're kind, but you're scared to negotiate. You're insecure, and it has nothing to do with you being kind. You're getting walked all over because you're unhappy that somebody's negotiating in business. You just genuinely wish you could get more for it. You could have said no. We lack accountability. I had this talk the other day. I'm like, but I had to sell it for 40. I was like, but you said yes. You could have told Harold to go fuck himself. You said yes. Nobody walked all over you. You folded because it was a good deal for you, or you needed to move it. I'm fascinated by what's going on in the world. We've gotten into such a funny place for a million different reasons. And I just want people to lock in on themselves and realize how much opportunity you have. What does it
take from an emotional intelligence standpoint to actually be successful. I think the concept of soft skills has been really fascinating to me. That when we talk about empathy or kindness or patience, we consider them soft skills. And I truly believe that they're the actual hard skills of business. That knowing how to write up a contract or use Excel or like run the math is actually quite easy. What I think is very hard is when another human being is incredibly disrespectful to your face and having the intestinal fortitude to be the bigger person in that moment for what you're trying to accomplish. And I think it's time that we really start having this conversation in the business world. That, how many people here have employees? Raise your hand. Raise it high. Thank you. So for example, for all the people that just raised their hand, something I've been thinking a lot about lately is the concept of, does anybody here actually have the explanation to why it is ever appropriate for a boss to scream and yell at somebody in a negative way in front of other people? Yeah, we're all like, no, 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 never. But it happens every fucking day. And I've been fascinated by it because I'm like, wow, like for a long time, the context of doing business has been used as an excuse framework for just bad behavior and comma. And here's the most interesting part. I'm stunned by how many people are confused that fear is a better motivator than love. I'm fascinated by that. You know, the hypothesis of my new book and how I wrote it, and really what I think about, and really COVID gave me the opportunity to really finally put on paper what's been on the tip of my tongue, what's always been in my stomach, what's been back here, but I got it out there, is I'm trying to build the biggest empire in the world. I want to be the single most successful entrepreneur of all time, financially. Like the points, the money. I have no concern about saying that, but I'm stunned by the fact that people feel that you have to compromise your values to be successful. I remember when Steve Jobs got wildly popular in Silicon Valley, and I would be at conferences and I would talk about how I was so marveled by his incredible innovation skills, but I didn't love the way the narrative was being painted about how he treated employees. And it was like, I was watching kids, young kids who were starting apps and companies genuinely almost think it was cool to be tough on their people. Not that they were so bad, but they thought like this was gonna motivate them. And I was very affected by it. And I think that it's really led to a place where, for me, as my profile and the attention on me has grown, that I feel incredibly compelled to have the conversation of my management style. It's why I had to go vulnerable, which is not my favorite move with this book, because in 12 and a half, I talk about my half being candor. Garyvee on stage and in content is a beast when it comes to candor. It's my strength. Gary Vaynerchuk as an operator was really bad at it. I actually just genuinely didn't like the feeling of delivering bad news, telling someone they weren't good at what they did. I didn't value money enough, so I'd be willing to keep people around. I tried 100 different ways to fix it without telling them that they stink. And then what would ultimately happen is I would get resentment. I would hold on for deal light for 3 years, and then finally on a random Tuesday, surprise the shit out of them and fire them. Which is the complete scenario of why anybody who's ever worked for me does not like me, in a world where that shouldn't be the case based on who I am and how I value money. And I had to go through that in my late 30s and early 40s, even probably early 40s and recently. And what has transpired, once I kind of tricked myself, I almost Garyvee'd myself and basically put the word kind in front of candor. And I've managed that way for the last 2 years. And for anybody, and I saw a lot of you with your body language who have that shortcoming, it has been staggering how effective kind candor has been for me and has been foundational in the growth of VaynerX and VaynerMedia over the last 24 months. Other people, candor comes very natural. The problem is they deliver it like a dick face. And that's never gonna work. You know, genuinely making someone not feel good, genuinely scaring someone is a losing formula. You can more than easily use it in the short term to capture some cash. I promise you, you will leave money on the table deploying that format. To me, there are a ton of people who booed me along the way, who didn't want to see me succeed, this and that. There's a great story, I wish Brandon was here from Wine Library. There's a great story of a wine supplier who shit on me so heavy and did such the wrong thing, did the wrong thing about my business. I said this once before, did something terrible to me, did the wrong thing by Wine Library, undermined me as a human being with straight lies. I went to an event in New York City where I went to go taste his wine and he fucking said, get the fuck out of here, you're a piece of shit, you're the worst thing with the wine business. And then when Wine Library TV blew up, he sent me an email, acted as if none of that had ever happened, and asked to be on the show for exposure for his brand, and I said yes.
Wow. Why?
Because being the bigger person's always right. Dude, negative, he knew, and I know. Mm-hmm. As long as everyone knows the score, then like, you don't need to impose it. Holding that negativity is stopping you from what you actually want to happen. Conversations and the keynotes and the books that I wrote, you know, 7-10 years ago about, hey, print and radio and television, the things that I use to build my wine business, they're declining in value. You gotta look at Google AdWords or email or, you know, YouTube. That's becoming a non-conversation. I think I struggled to think that people don't realize that digital is a real serious form of marketing. What is happening though is as people have gone through that transition, the land of navigating digital marketing is incredibly vast and ridiculously up and down. You can waste an ungodly amount of money doing digital marketing and get nothing in return, or you could spend a stunningly low amount of dollars and get very high upside. And it just comes down to the tactics and just understanding it. And I want to spend some time on that. The other thing that I want to spend time on is today 16th? Tuesday, yeah. So today was supposed to be the day my new book came out. If you guys can flash my screen one more time. So today was supposed to be the day that my new book came out, 12 and a half, leveraging the emotional ingredients for business success. I did a NFT promotion in August that if you bought 12 copies, I would airdrop you an NFT, and sold 1.2 million copies, which for context makes it the most successful book of all time, or at least one of the top 10. And so they had to push it by 2 weeks, and it'll be coming out in 2 weeks, but it's just really fun timing that today was supposed to be the day, because it's really the other thing I desperately want to talk to you about, which is my navigating not only my own career, but I was an early investor in Facebook and Twitter, in Uber, in Coinbase. You know, I run an agency that's a, 1,800 person global company that works with a ton of businesses. And something has really become very clear to me, again, in this older state, which is in business, we don't really talk about kindness or empathy or compassion or accountability, or we don't talk about soft skills as a core. We talk about it as like a side dish, as a nice to have. And I think if you're very thoughtful about what's going on in the world right now, and I don't mean the over coddling and entitlement and that stuff, I mean people having options as employees, creating continuity and actually building something very big instead of kind of okay or solid. I think we need to start having an advanced, dramatically different conversation on what team building and leadership actually is. And again, I don't come from a foofy place. The way this book was built was how I've built my company. Internally, we call VaynerMedia the honey empire, right? Honey over vinegar, but the word empire is not a soft word. We're trying to build the biggest company of all time. And I think to do that, you need continuity based on optimism and growth, not based on fear. I couldn't employ, if nothing from this talk, you remember except this one part, I hope this lands. Every company, hence person in this room, needs to be running 3 to 4 original pieces of creative as ads on LinkedIn a day. 3 to 4 LinkedIn ads a day. All different, videos, pictures, or words, all run as ads. Not your page and you post and you organically just get whatever LinkedIn puts it into the ethos. I mean, you actually target employees of companies or people's titles and you pay LinkedIn money in ad form to convert the business goal that you want. Disproportionately, in the last 18 months, the #1 thing that I get emails about with the content that I put out around this, disproportionately, this has been the thing that I've been most emailed about as a substantial game changer for B2B companies. Couple things that are important about this. #1, as we go through this conversation, or if we get into Q&A and go deeper and you sit there and say, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it, actually. First and foremost, you cannot hire your 23-year-old niece to do it. You can't hire a small agency, one person that you find. You, the human in this room, must, if you want the success from it, you don't need to do anything, like just to really create the context, but if you would like your business to grow through an arbitrage that is incredibly obvious, that will close, LinkedIn ads are not as good right now as they were 24 months ago when I started this conversation. Because more people have come in, and I'm sure everybody here is gonna understand the simple concept of supply and demand. It's the same rodeo since MySpace. Thing happens, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's all the same game. Thing gets established, people come on board. The early movers, no different than real estate development, just with content, make content, they extract the biggest audiences. The big companies that I work with, the Pepsis, the Budweisers, the Fords, they wait. They gotta get their laws down, they gotta figure it out, they're scared of it, they wait. Eventually, 3 years in, they get comfortable, they start throwing money at it, it starts working, they start throwing real money at it. All of a sudden, SMBs, mid-market companies like ourselves don't get as much real estate for free organically, or the ads cost too much against what we used to spend for it. It's the same show every single time. The #1 advertiser on television in the first 10 years of television was Procter & Gamble. That's why it's the biggest consumer brands company in the world. The #1 advertiser on Google AdWords from 2001 to 2005 was Amazon. It's why it's who it is. When there is an arbitrage of attention, the world changes. The only thing that connects every one of our businesses here is the attempt to get attention, to tell somebody what we want or what we have, and then hope the thing happens. It's how the world works. All the things that are happening geopolitically and politically in our country and the world, it's just because attention has gone from mainstream media to social and new dynamics happen. The reason, back to being a Soviet boy, the reason when there's a coup in a country that at the same time they go after the palace, they go to the newspaper and radio and television station, is because communication and the ability to talk to somebody and get their attention and make the thing that you want to happen is literally the only thing that matters. And so, the thought that so many people in this room don't think about that as the first thing you do, even in parallel with the quality of your product. Though I did have a meeting last week where I was very underwhelmed with the product, and the person was very aggressive that they needed my agency to be hired, probably because he subconsciously knew how bad the product was. And it finally pushed me into the corner and I said, sir, with all due respect, I just want you to know one thing. We are the best marketing company in the world, which means the only thing that's about to happen is we're gonna speed up the world knowing that your product's a piece of crap. So I'm like, I think we should fix it first and then we'll market. So, look, when I say it's the only thing that matters, of course the quality of your product. Of course, when I look around this room, there's a ton of you that have substantial long-term relationships and reputation in a B2B environment that is absolutely driving your core business. My question is why people like to leave upside on the table. When I get into these combos one-on-one or on stage, you know, they're like, Gary, I'm good. I don't need LinkedIn. I'm like the king of Dayton, Ohio. I'm like, that's nice, Carl. I'm like, how much business do you do? 7 million. I'm like, what's wrong with 16? To me, marketing is a conversation of ambition. I understand that people don't want to learn this. I understand that you don't want to spend 11 hours running ads on LinkedIn, tasting it, watching a bunch of videos, reading a bunch of stuff, so that you can then hire the person internally and know how to judge if they're good at it. The biggest reason most companies don't continue to do social media is because they hired somebody that sucks at it and they don't know how to judge it, and then they decide it doesn't work. You know what else doesn't work? A basketball. A basketball does not work for me. The ROI of a basketball for me has been about negative $10,000 because I've torn both my meniscuses. The ROI of a basketball for LeBron James is $1 billion. Social marketing works at scale to trillions of dollars. We just might have not figured out how to make it work for ourselves. So for me, for this room, there are two core things that really stand out. One is LinkedIn, and you need to go pot committed, because again, what I've seen with the way ads are being spent and the way the organic reach is going down, how many people here use LinkedIn and know what I'm talking about, how it went from just a recruiting tool to now there's information content in there? Just raise your hands, I'm just curious. So you have a sense. If you even sit for a second, think about if you've even transacted or been affected by a piece of content in LinkedIn, just reverse engineer yourself. It's there at scale for this room.